Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for coming. There's a real reason, a special reason I'm here. I'm here and I'm grateful that you all came, but I'm here because of my connection to Irene Price. I don't know if you know this or not, but Irene's former career was at a store called Jacobson's, and Irene was a very powerful and successful and highly respected executive at Jacobson's, and was known across the country as one of the most powerful and successful female executives in the beauty business. And I met Irene as a brand new account executive for Estee Lauder in the early 80s. I was afraid of her because she had this big title and I didn't really know what I was doing, and it was like a new executive, and she was like, you know, I would tell my mom and dad, I'm going to meet this lady, her name is Irene Price, and she's a big executive at Jacobson's. And I'm here because Irene was kind to me as a young executive, that she taught me. And I knew I made mistakes, and she never embarrassed me. And she was always kind. And as you guys journey through your life and your careers and your education, you will remember people who were nice to you. And they make a difference. They help shape you, and you don't know that they're shaping you when they're doing it. But I remember driving to Jackson all the time, and she would always make sure I had lunch. She would always be kind, and there was those little things that I would go other places and they didn't care if I ate. And you remember those things. And so, again, in front of everyone, I want to publicly acknowledge your kindness, but more importantly, your leadership as an executive in the industry and as a woman, and your great success. So thank you for inviting me, Irene, and it was an immediate yes when she called me because of that reason. I have lots to share with you, and I'll kind of navigate some of my material, and hopefully we'll have time for questions and answers. But I work for a great company, and I'm pretty proud of what I do, and I'm more proud of the company I work for. And it's a highly respected company, a global company in 140 countries. And over $9 billion globally. And my journey to this company was accidental, but one thing you should all know is sometimes you stumble upon opportunities that become great opportunities. So be very aware when you meet people. When you have an opportunity to meet a teacher, to meet somebody who works for a company, or if you're out socially, you never know what an introduction to somebody could lead to. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, and that's kind of how the world is set up. And engaging and meeting people makes life better and opportunities richer. The world of the beauty business. This is the world I live in. Beauty. And we talk about beauty in two ways. Prestige and mass. So what does that mean? Prestige and mass. It means your brand is defined on who you sell and who you don't sell. What does that mean? I don't sell my product at CVS. I don't sell my product at Target. I don't sell my product at Kohl's or Walmart. Doesn't mean that those retailers are not amazing. I mean, my favorite place to shop is Costco. I don't sell my product at Costco. It means certain retailers resonate with different tiers of consumers and different tiers of price point and different tiers of luxury. And knowing who you are as a brand and knowing your channel of distribution where you sell your brand is as important as anything. So I want you to understand, this is not just for beauty. This is for everything. How does Starbucks get $5.95 for a cappuccino? Really? Or you can go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the same cappuccino for $3.95. Or you can just make it at home. But think about the tiers in coffee, not just beauty. You can buy a great pair of stretch pants at Target, or Macy's, or Nordstrom's. All different tiers. Just depends what you want your shopping experience to be and how much you want to pay. Same product. Same product. You can buy regular tennis shoes Nike tennis shoes, Puma tennis shoes, Chanel tennis shoes. They're all tennis shoes. So think about, in this amazing world of retail, the tiers, because companies are brands as well. We were talking about this in the other group. We were talking about the internet, and if I talk about anything, I'm going to talk about the digital influence on every company in the globe. The digital influence on global brands is pretty amazing and moving at lightning speed. And most brands and companies meet new consumers for the first time online. And I related it to this university. Most of you were first introduced to Spring Arbor online. You probably went online and checked it out. Most brands, whether it be an iPhone, a lipstick, or a pair of tennis shoes, consumers find them online. So your digital IQ, what you look like online, how you communicate your brand online, what it looks like visually, what your assets are, whether you have video assets, and how interactive it is, and if there's an area for ratings and reviews and all of that, sometimes can make or break your company and how you bring in new users, or bring in new employees, or bring in new customers, or in this case, bringing in new students. That is more important than any advertising you can do as a brand. And that is enormously different than the way life was 10 years ago. And the world has changed so dynamically for every company because of the digital influence that it's pretty exciting for you guys. I did this in the other group. Could you all take out your iPhones or your BlackBerries? I just want to see what you're using to connect with the world. So I see a cell phone. Do I see an iPhone? I see an iPhone. I see iPhones. Do I see BlackBerries? Anybody have a There's a BlackBerry. That's what makes you different. Do you know the power you have in that little digital machine? You have access to information on any product you want, any school you want, any company you may or may not want to work for. You can check me out. You can check out Irene. You can do whatever you want. That is the power of the consumer right now. And you're a consumer. I know you're a student, but you're still a consumer. Somebody's paying a bill for you to sit in this classroom today. And that influences the future. So think about that as you're journeying through your classes and what you may want to do and the decisions you make. You can do so much informational research to make your decisions wiser as you journey through everything. So digital influence in business is enormous, and the headline of any company and any leader you hear speaking. And we call it a company's digital IQ. Emerging markets. I asked this question in the other group. Let's see if nobody had the answer in the other group. I asked them if they knew what BRICS meant. Any global leader, pick up the Wall Street Journal. They're always talking about emerging markets and BRICS. Anybody? I know you can't. So it means Brazil, Russia, India, China. Really doesn't matter a lot to you here today. But to any company you work for, the emerging middle classes in those countries and the traveling consumer are impacting American companies so much that you have to take notice. I was just in Chicago yesterday, and I was walking on Michigan Avenue. Has anyone walked on Michigan Avenue? Okay. So I was in the Nordstrom store on Michigan Avenue. And the #1 traveling consumer on Michigan Avenue is from what country? You have any idea? Brazil. Brazil. They were begging us for people who talks Portuguese. Everybody who comes to my counter talks Portuguese. That's how dynamic and how things are changing. Their #2 traveling consumer? Chinese. Chinese. Every center, every shopping center in the world and every company is very multicultural. You have to be very aware. This country is so diverse, and how lucky we are to embrace the 30 or 40 nationalities on any given moment you could be exposed to. I don't know how many nationalities are in this school, but I'm sure there's 40 or 50 or 60. And every nationality has cultural differences and things they're proud of and traditions. And companies have to embrace those. If they're selling something in any way, they have to emotionally connect to the culture of the customer, not just the language, the culture. And I'll give you, for instance, when I was in Nordstrom's yesterday, and there was an Asian consumer who came up, and we actually put our salespeople through what we call it's like an Asian education module, because there are things you do with Asian consumers that you don't do with American consumers. For instance, Americans point. We point. If you walk into a store and you say, could you tell me where the restroom is? Somebody from Macy's might say, well, the restroom's here. Or if you're in Target, well, the restroom's there. Well, in the Asian culture, you never point. You always have an open hand. And so we teach our people, if you have an Asian person, we taught them how to say hello in Chinese. And then we taught them, you always have an open hand. And the Asians see that, and they appreciate that you're going out of your way to do something that's respectful in their culture. I wanted to share that example with you because somebody in this room is going to work for a global, many of you may work for global companies, and being aware of what that means is really, really important. It's not just a word. We talked about the traveling consumer, and the reason I want to tell you that is, have all of you been to our airport, Metro Detroit Airport? Okay, so there's a duty-free store in there. You know, once you go through security and you walk past Starbucks and you walk past something, there's a duty-free store. And why do those stores exist? The largest amount of beauty products in our industry are sold in airports. Do you believe it? In the duty-free stores around the globe. Heathrow Airport in London, the Ala Moana Airport in Hawaii are huge beauty destinations for the traveling consumer. I was at a speech last week where I had the opportunity to listen to a gentleman by the name of Jim Gold. Jim Gold is the president of Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus in our country is considered the highest tier of luxury. We call it uber luxury. And in his speech, he talked about the luxury consumer. So now those of you who are in my other class cannot answer that. But I'd like for you guys to guess how much we sell this product for. Just yell it out.
$35.
More.
50.
More.
100.
More.
400.
More. Talk louder so the video can get it, because this will be fun. More. $950. Okay, and I'm going to tell you a story about this so that you understand when I say the luxury tier and the uber luxury tier. This is a product that we created for Neiman Marcus and for some stores around the world, like Harrods department store, that sell to the luxury tier. And there's an ingredient story, and there's a technology story, and there's patents, and there's like an incredible story with this product called Recreation. I'm telling you this so that you understand we sell $18 mascaras and we sell $950 creams. And understanding that the consumer has an appetite for entry-level price points to the highest level price points makes you a great brand. And so one would say, well, what could possibly make a cream worth $950, really? And we are able to justify that and explain it. And I told the other group, this Saturday morning I had to speak at, have any of you been to Somerset Mall? So there's a Neiman Marcus there, and so Saturday morning I had to speak to 200 women on beauty, and we introduced and launched this product last Saturday, and we sold 12. We sold 12. So there is an appetite for high-end as well as low-end, and understanding that as you work for different companies makes you smart business people. Who is your company? Just like Howard Schultz said, I bet you I could sell $6 coffees. I bet you the first time he said that for Starbucks, they laughed at him. Coffees were 99 cents at a gas station. Before Starbucks came, People made coffee at home, or they went to the gas station to get a 99-cent cup of coffee. I mean, there's other freestanding coffee shops now, but those have come after. So you think about the vision and the courage. All right, you could say, are you kidding, Estee Lauder, a $950 cream? Yeah. It all relates. It all relates the same. So it's just an interesting example on luxury. Anyway, the speech I went to with Jim Gold, the first thing he talked about was the omni-channel customer. Does anybody know what that means? Omni-channel, many channels. So what does that mean? He said to him, as the president of Neiman Marcus, the most valuable customer to me is the customer that shops online, neimanmarcus.com, that shops in my store, Somerset, that shops from my catalogs, that shops from my apps on my iPhone. That means they're highly engaged in my brand. In my brand. Why do you think every great brand has an app now? They all have apps, and they all have QR codes. So if you put your iPhone on their QR code and you press it, it takes you to their website. You could be right at their counter. You go walk into any Macy's store, there's a QR code. Just hit it, and all of a sudden you're watching a commercial right at the site. They want to engage in many channels the consumer. In any great company you work for, this will come up. Engaging the customer in a digital conversation, in an in-person conversation, in a telephone conversation, and that becomes the emotional connection people have to brands. It becomes emotional. And people are connected to people. You'll never have an emotional connection to your iPhone. It becomes a habit. It's a habit. It's addicting. I mean, if you don't have it in your hand, you're worried somebody's trying to get a hold of you and you're not there. Emotional connections happen with people. And that's the reason I'm telling you the story about the digital is the next time you go into a store, and it could be a grocery store, could be a drugstore, and it could be Macy's, it could be Elder Beerman down the road here, that your interaction with the salesperson will be as powerful as the product you buy. And it probably should be better. Because guess what? You could just go online and buy this stuff. You don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere. And we know that. We know that if your experience isn't special, why would you go anywhere? You could just go on, you could order right now. So digital has upped the game with high-touch service and with the consumer experience anywhere. It upped the Starbucks game. It upped the Apple game. You go into an Apple store, they've upped their game. You could just go online and buy it. You don't have to have an experience. It upped the beauty business game. It upped Neiman Marcus game. It upped everybody's game because you could go from high-touch service and go online, which is no service, and be just as happy. And be just as happy. The Chinese consumer you're going to hear a lot about in every business class you take. And I'll give you an example. New York City's 8 million, 10 million people. Big city. Have any of you ever been to New York? Okay, lots of people, right? Big city. There's 20 New York cities in China. Just to give you a sense of how much a billion people is. And they're all emerging middle class that want to travel, and they love American consumer goods. So wherever you land, and they talk about the Chinese consumer, take it seriously. You guys are on the front end of what's happening as the world becomes one universe. I mean, we have been a global company for a long time, but there are a lot of American companies really just getting their legs on the global scene. And those companies will double and triple in size, and they're going to be companies you're going to want to be a part of. Estee Lauder is a global leader in prestige beauty, and we call ourselves a powerhouse of unrivaled creativity and innovation. Those are two words you should write down: creativity and innovation. That is what drives great companies. Yes, corporate culture, and yes, great products, and yes, great people, and all those other things. But without innovation and creativity, you will never be ahead of your consumers' needs. We have people sitting in a room right now thinking about what beauty products women are going to want in 10 years. Think about how, I say, we sit in the boardroom, we talk about we have to think till our brain hurts when you start to think like, all right, what are women going to want in 10 years? And lots of great companies are thinking about that. What's the Nike shoe going to look like in 10 years? What's the iPad going to look like in 10 years? What is a barista going to be making in 10 years at a Starbucks? Something we haven't heard of for sure. A made-up word, because they're famous for making up words. But I mean, that's who they are. They make them up and we repeat them. So it's interesting how you can also train a consumer. If you're strong enough and you resonate enough and you don't disappoint them, if you don't disappoint them, they will buy into whatever you're serving as a company. We are 27 brands. I want to see how good you are. We are Estee Lauder. Anybody else know what other brands we own?
Aveda?
Yes, Aveda. Anyone else?
Vogue?
Sorry?
Vogue?
Vogue?
Yeah.
No. Clinique? Anybody hear of Clinique? Anybody hear of MAC Cosmetics? We own MAC. Anybody hear of Bobbi Brown Cosmetics? Origins? Donna Karan fragrances? Tommy Hilfiger fragrances? The Beyonce fragrances? Smashbox? Smashbox? Anybody know about Smashbox? They're owned by the grandchildren, the grandsons of Max Factor, the original Max Factor. And we just bought the brand a year ago. And they're only in North America. So we will get them into 140 countries pretty quickly and get them to the $100 million mark, which is kind of our benchmark. If our brands can't do 100 million, then we have to seriously decide if they belong in our portfolio. But I wanted to just give you a little insight on how big our brand is. To tell you how interesting it is to deal with cultures, do you know what the most important beauty initiative for the Asian consumer is? Whitening. They want to buy moisturizing products that whiten their skin. That's a sense of status in China. All of our products say, you know, Advanced Night Repair Whitening, Renutriv Whitening, Time Zone Moisturizer Whitening. Isn't that interesting? The Brazilian consumer, they never buy one eyeshadow, they buy 6. They love makeup. Cultural. South Americans, they're beautiful women and they love makeup. In Texas, the Hispanics that come over from the border love makeup. So I'm sharing this with you because as you work for great companies, the cultural influence, the regional influence, understanding how your brand resonates personally is important. Why? When somebody goes online, it's very personal. You can go online and order a car and pick a color and pick the wheels and pick the interiors and pick customization to the consumer is so easy that the consumer's expecting it everywhere, by every brand, to customize for me and my needs. There really is an Estee Lauder. Anybody know that there really was a woman named Estee Lauder? It's not a made-up company name. Irene met her, knew her, spent time with her. She's the founder of our great company. And we talked a lot about this in the last meeting, but you guys have just experienced in the last year a pretty profound case study for a great business. And I'll tell you about it in a second. But what do great companies with great founders worry about?
What happens when they leave?
Exactly. Exactly. What happens to your great company when the founder passes? And it's a serious and important discussion because the founder serves the Kool-Aid to the employees, to the customers, and especially to Wall Street. They are the most authoritative voice for who the brand is and what they represent. Because guess what? It's their brand. So you are living it right now with Steve Jobs. You saw this famous brainiac who was quirky, who founded probably the most important tool in your lives, the iPhone, the iPad, whatever. and you saw how the world mourned him, and you are watching how his company is scrambling to continue to move forward. They had their first press conference without him. Their stores are still full, but trust me, the boardroom for that company is really working and thinking about how they will travel through the next 20 years without the joy and the respect of their founder, who is still being celebrated. You walk into any magazine store and his books are everywhere. And he was celebrated because he was innovative and creative, not because he was easy to work with. Not because he wasn't a little quirky and eat apples for 4 months and not take showers for 6 months. And you know, he was a quirky, creative guy. But he was celebrated because of his innovation and of his courage to get these products to market. And think about what you're living through right now. There's a lot of great companies. When we lost Mrs. Estee Lauder in the late, I don't know what year she died, in 2002 maybe. Do you know what year she died? Something like that. We paused the button right away. This is like a, you know, we thought about it in advance. She was in her 90s, but we still had our founder alive. We've survived brilliantly. We've had the best year we've had in 10 years last year, and all of those wonderful things. But great companies think 10 and 20 years out. They think about life with a founder and life without a founder. I want to talk a little bit about you. I don't know what my time is like. What time is it? Am I good with time? I want to give you some things to think about on your journey in life and as a student and as a career. And I gave this homework assignment in the other room, and I'm going to give it to you. I'd like you to write it down. And it's called 3 Praises a Day. It was a great life lesson taught to me by Leonard Lauder, because he had great joy in thanking and acknowledging people every day of his life. He's still alive and still an amazing leader and mentor to me. But he worked at it. He worked at going up to people saying, you know what, you were really good today, thank you. Or that was really terrific, you really contributed to my company, or you contributed to the meeting. So I want you to think about that today. Can you squeeze in 3 today before you go to sleep? Can you thank somebody for doing something nice to you? Can you thank a teacher for an amazing lecture? Can you thank somebody in the cafeteria for doing something? They got you a napkin, whatever. Go out of your way to show appreciation and make that part of your DNA. It will help you as a leader in business. And one other topic, which is leadership. And today was optional, right? Not mandatory, optional? Okay, so you show leadership by wanting more. You didn't have to be here today, and nobody would have disciplined you for not being here today. But leaders want more. Leaders want more information. Leaders want to talk to other people that might have a story that might interest them. So I admire you for showing leadership today, and I thank you for being here. When you write your resumes, you're young, beautiful, wonderful people, and resumes generally talk about your rich working careers. Well, you're young. I mean, how many jobs could you possibly have had by 21? So look at your resume as a leadership resume, not a work resume. You showed leadership by being here today. You led a special event on campus. That goes on your resume. Think about your leadership. If you're an RA, if you're doing anything, if you handle a special event or a special class, until you get enough work to have a full-bodied resume, think about your life as a student and as a leader, because that's what companies look for. They look for leadership. They look for people who initiate. They look for people who are hungry to learn and happy to learn and take joy in learning and meeting other people. Great companies look for people that have fire in their belly. So I want to give you a few leadership tips that I gave the other group, and these were tips that were given to me many years ago that have helped me in my journey. And number 1 is a strong sense of self. Know who you are. Know what you stand for. Know what kind of company you think you would thrive in. And then be decisive. If it doesn't feel right, follow your instincts. Don't second guess yourself. You know how you were raised. You know what the school expects of you. You know what the school stands for. You're here for a reason, and it will help you actually find your place. You guys are very lucky to be at this school, because the school stands for all great things great companies admire. And you're in a small enough environment where they can really nurture you here and position you for success. You're not a number, you're a person. And that is really smart and clever of you or your parents or whoever made the decision to have you be here. Be fair. Be fair. Be fair as a student. Be fair as somebody if you're living in a dorm or in an apartment. Be fair can mean bring in your fair share of groceries if you're sharing an apartment. Be fair, like you clean your pan and you clean your pan. There's lots of ways to be fair to people you live with, people you work with, people you go to school with. It's a great way to put your head on the pillow every night and say, you know what, good day. Good day. I could have done this, but I didn't. I went out of my way to be fair. Determination, will, passion, and spirit. I can't tell you how important it is. Have the passion for something. And every one of you is going to find something you love. And that's going to be the thing you love to talk about or you love to do. Whatever it is. And you will see the energy will just start to pour out of you because you finally found your place, whatever industry that is. Trust. Keep your promise. If you make a commitment to somebody, you owe it to yourself and that person to fulfill that commitment. And that establishes your personal trust career. You do not want to be labeled as somebody that can't be trusted. And so you have to think about that. These are really important traits that you work your whole lifetime to build and can be shattered in an instant. Listen, listen, listen. If God wanted you to talk more, he would have given you 2 mouths. Listening is an amazing trait of any leader, of any student, of any teacher. Listening to what people think. And what is pretty amazing for companies like ours now is the voice the consumer has online with ratings and reviews and comments, that we can listen pretty quickly and to a lot of people on Facebook. I mean, if you ask them a question on Facebook, you're going to have a zillion responses and you're going to know right away. And then we have a responsibility to respond to that. Dignity and recognition. You know, lead your life with great dignity. Don't cheat yourself. Make smart decisions. Be respectful. If you have an opportunity to let somebody go before you, whatever. Whether you're in the line to get on a plane, in a line, if you have an opportunity to open a door for somebody, that's an honor. Don't take any of those things so casually. Those are things that you do those every day, you'll have a better life. You'll just have a better life. And have a great vision. You want to be successful. I'm not saying you want to be millionaires, and I'm not saying you all want to be in boardrooms, and I'm not saying you all want to be presidents. But you want to have a successful life. And what does that mean to you? You should think about it. Does that mean I'll have a life of giving back? Does that mean I'll have a life for the environment? The environment is what I want to do. Does that mean I think I can be in a boardroom? Yep. I think I want to live in New York City and run a big company. Avon was looking for a president. You know, there was a big job search for Avon. And maybe one of you thought maybe I could run Avon. One of you will be a president of a company. One of you will be a president of an environment agency. One of you might run for office. I don't know. One of you might end up in Washington, D.C. I love talking to young people because a bunch of you are going to be somewhere amazing in 10 years and in 20 years. And somewhere along the line, one of you might even be president of the United States. We don't know. It's pretty amazing. We don't know who we're touching. But as I close, write these words down. Think big. Think big. And then right after that, write these words down. Why not? Why not? Questions, comments? It's been my pleasure to be here. Again, I want to thank you, Irene, for inviting me. You guys have so much opportunity and excitement and fun things ahead of you. I encourage you to follow your dreams, and if there's anything I can do to help guide you, it would be my pleasure. You can get a hold of me through Irene. I wish you all tremendous success and good luck and happiness and joy in your life's journey. Thank you.